I moved into this house 2 days ago. It's old. Really old. The kind of house that creaks even when no one's moving. Paint is peeling off the walls, and the air smells like dust and rain. But the rent was cheap, and I needed a fresh start. The first night, I didn't sleep well. Not because it was scary, not yet, but because the silence was too thick, too heavy, like the house was listening. I told myself I was just tired. The second night, I started unpacking. Nothing major, just some clothes, dishes, books. Around 11 p.m., I went up to the attic for the first time. The previous owner had warned me, "Don't bother, it's just old junk." But I was curious. The attic door made a long, loud groan when I pulled it down. I climbed up, flashlight in hand, expecting cobwebs, boxes, maybe a dead mouse. But there was only one thing, a small, black leather book, sitting perfectly in the center of the floor. I thought maybe it was a photo album, but when I opened it, I realized it was a diary. No dust on it, no name, just clean, white pages filled with neat handwriting. The first entry was dated March 3rd, 1972. I skimmed the page. It talked about the house. The writer said they had just moved in and felt something strange here. The next few entries got weirder. They described dreams, strange noises in the walls, doors opening on their own. But what made my skin crawl was that every little thing they wrote matched exactly what I had experienced. Same creaking floorboards, same cold spot near the stairs, same quiet feeling that never went away. At first, I thought maybe someone was playing a prank. But this handwriting looked old. The ink had faded. The pages were yellowed just enough to feel real. I flipped to the end of the diary, and my heart nearly stopped. The last entry was dated today. He found the attic tonight. He's reading this now. I don't think he knows what's coming. I dropped the book, backed away from it like it was alive. I turned around, shining my flashlight across the attic. No one was there. But suddenly, it felt like I wasn't alone anymore. Like someone was standing just behind me. I didn't dare look back. I grabbed the diary, ran down the ladder, slammed the attic door, and shoved a chair underneath it. That was last night. Today, I tried throwing the diary away. I put it in the trash bin outside and went for a long walk to clear my head. But when I got home, it was sitting on my kitchen table. Same spot where I left my keys. I live alone. I don't know how it got back inside. And now, a new line has appeared on the last page. He still doesn't believe, but the house is patient. I haven't written a word in it, but the diary is still writing back. And I have a feeling the attic wasn't the only thing waiting for me. I barely slept last night. The house was too quiet again, but not in a peaceful way, in a way that made you feel like something was waiting for you to close your eyes. When I did finally drift off, I had the same dream. A dark hallway, endless, cold. At the far end, the attic door, open, and something standing inside, just out of the light, watching. I woke up sweating. The diary was still on the kitchen table, exactly where I didn't leave it. I had put it in a drawer, locked it, but there it was, open, a new page. My hands shook as I leaned over it, and what I read made my blood turn to ice. He dreamed of the hallway again. He saw me, but still he doesn't remember. Let's remind him. The next line was my full name, then my old street address, from when I was 7 years old, then the name of my childhood dog, Charlie. I hadn't said that name out loud in over 10 years. I stepped away from the table, heart pounding. How could this book know that? How could it write it? I tried to think logically. Maybe it was a trick. Maybe someone had hidden a speaker in the house or a camera. I searched every corner, every vent, every drawer. Nothing. Just silence. And then I realized something even more terrifying. The handwriting in the diary, it was changing. It was starting to look like mine. Same slant, same loops, same little curl at the end of my S's. I grabbed a pen and flipped to the next blank page. I wrote, "Who are you?" I waited. Nothing. 5 minutes. I made some coffee, tried to distract myself, but I kept glancing over. Then I saw it. A single word appeared under my question, slowly, like invisible ink being revealed. You. I slammed the book shut, threw it back in the drawer, locked it again. I told myself I was done. No more reading. No more writing. Let the attic rot. But tonight, as I sat in bed trying to sleep, I heard something. So, above me, like footsteps, dragging, slow, back and forth, back and forth. I tried to ignore it, but then something fell. A loud thump from the attic, like something was dropped on purpose. I stayed frozen in bed, staring at the ceiling. Then I heard the sound of paper, pages turning, like someone or something was reading, or worse, writing. I didn't go back to sleep. I couldn't. The sound of pages turning above my head never stopped. At one point, I thought I heard whispering too. Too soft to understand. Too clear to ignore. By morning, the attic was quiet again. But the feeling wasn't gone. It was worse. Like something was waiting for me to come upstairs. I told myself to leave it alone. Let the attic stay closed. Let the diary stay locked in the drawer. But that drawer? It was open. The diary was gone. This time, I didn't panic. I just stood there, staring into the empty drawer. And for a few seconds, I felt calm. Too calm. Then I turned around. The diary was on my bed, wide open, and something was different. There were drawings now, not just words. Rough sketches in black ink. One showed a stick figure standing in a room, the attic. Another showed the same figure standing next to something dark, with too many arms. The last drawing? A door, with a shadow behind it. I flipped the page and there it was. New writing. This time, it didn't describe me. It gave me instructions. Go to the attic at exactly 3:17 a.m. Bring no light. Do not speak. Do not run. Just listen. I slammed the book shut. This was too far. I wasn't going to follow the instructions of a cursed notebook. I wasn't going to sneak into my own attic in the middle of the night like some idiot in a horror movie. I left the house. Tried to spend the day at a coffee shop, but I couldn't focus. Every noise made me jump. Every shadow looked like it was moving. I came home just before sunset. The book was gone again. No note. No new message. Nothing. I started to think maybe I was free. Maybe it had stopped. But right before midnight, I walked past the attic door and saw something. A string, thin and white, hanging from the ceiling crack. It wasn't there before. I pulled it gently. A folded piece of paper floated down. So, you already went up once. Now finish what you started. No signature. No joke. Just one more reminder that this house wasn't mine. It never was. And at 3:17 a.m., I would find out who it really belonged to. I set an alarm for 3:10 a.m., but I didn't sleep. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the old walls breathe around me. I kept asking myself why I was even thinking about going back up there. Why follow the diary? Why obey something that feels wrong? But deep down, I knew the truth. I needed to know. Because if I didn't, I'd never be able to leave this place. I got out of bed at 3:11. The floor was freezing under my feet. The house was silent, almost too silent, like it was holding its breath. No lights, no phone, just me, barefoot in the dark, walking toward the attic. I reached the ladder at 3:16. Waited. One more minute. When my watch turned 3:17, I pulled the ladder down. It creaked louder than it ever had before. I climbed slowly. Each step felt heavier than the last, like the air was thicker up there. At the top, I pushed open the attic hatch. Total black. But I didn't bring a flashlight. Just like the diary said. No light, no sound, no running. Just listen. So I did. I climbed into the attic, carefully, my eyes struggling to adjust. I waited. Nothing happened at first. Just cold and dark. Then I heard it. A soft sound. Breathing. Not mine. Slow. Just a few feet in front of me. And then, pages turning. Not fast. One by one. Deliberate. Like something, was reading in the dark. I opened my mouth to speak, but I stopped myself. No talking. I stayed still and listened. The sound stopped. For a few seconds, there was only silence. Then a voice, right in front of me, like wind scraping through bone. You finally came back. I didn't answer. Couldn't. The voice continued. It remembers you. Then something slid across the floor toward me. I didn't need to see it to know what it was. The diary. It was back in my hands now. Open to a new page. I couldn't read it in the dark. But somehow, I felt the words burning into me, etching into my mind. And then the voice whispered one last thing. Don't let it end like last time. This time, you must finish the story. A sudden wind pushed me backward. I stumbled, caught myself, and scrambled down the ladder, slamming the attic door shut behind me. I turned on the lights, my heart pounding, and in my hands, the diary was glowing faintly, the ink still wet. One line was written across the page. You were here before, and you left me behind. I don't know what that means yet, but I think the attic does. I didn't go back to bed after the attic. How could I? I sat in the kitchen with the lights on, holding the diary like it might jump out of my hands. The last line kept repeating in my mind. You were here before, and you left me behind. I kept asking myself, what does that mean? I've never lived here before. I've never even been to this town until now. But the voice in the attic had sounded so sure. Like it knew me. Like it remembered. Later that morning, I got desperate for answers. I went to the local library. I figured maybe I could find something about the house. Old owners. Previous tenants. Anyone who might explain the diary or the voice or the attic. I told the librarian my address. She paused, gave me a weird look, then quietly said, "That house?" She didn't say more, but she led me to the archives, stacks of old newspapers, faded and yellowed. And then I found it. A headline from 1993. Boy disappears from attic. No trace found. The article talked about a family who moved into my house. A mom, a dad, and their son, 8 years old. One day, the boy went up to the attic to play. Never came down. The parents thought he was hiding at first. But when they opened the attic, it was empty. No signs of struggle. Just one thing left behind. A small black diary. The photo in the paper showed it. Same size. Same cover. Exactly like mine. I felt sick. I needed air, but my legs wouldn't move. The librarian came over and said quietly, they moved out a week later. Never spoke to the press again. I asked her, do you remember their names? She nodded. Carter. The boy's name was Nathan Carter. I froze. That name, it felt familiar. Too familiar. I went back home that evening, heart pounding. As soon as I walked in, I saw it. The diary, sitting in the middle of the living room floor. Open, like it had been waiting. And on the page, a name written in thick black ink. Nathan Carter. Then underneath, another line appeared as I stared. He never left. You just forgot. After reading that name, Nathan Carter, I sat on the floor in total silence. The diary was still open, the ink still fresh. The words burned in my mind. He never left. You just forgot. Forgot? How could I forget a missing boy? I told myself I'd never lived here, that this wasn't my story, but something deep in my chest said otherwise. A strange pressure I couldn't explain. That night, I didn't leave the lights on. I didn't run. I just sat in the hallway outside the attic door and waited. I needed to know what happened here. Around 2 a.m., I started hearing things. Not from above this time, from the walls. Soft tapping, like fingers. First on my left, then right, then all around me. I stood up slowly, tried to tell myself it was the pipes or the old wood settling. But then the tapping became scratching. Slow, careful, and I swear it was spelling something. I put my ear to the wall, and I heard a whisper, a boy's voice, faint, dry, like dust was stuck in his throat. I'm still here. Heart racing. I grabbed the diary from the table. It was open again on a new page. This time, it wasn't a message. It was a memory. He was hiding. You dared him to. You said you'd count to 10. But when you opened the door, you didn't see him. And you ran. My stomach dropped. That couldn't be true. Never. But then a picture formed in my head. Flashes. Younger. Running through this house. Another boy laughing behind me. We had climbed the attic ladder. He had hidden. I had counted. And then nothing. But gone. I thought it was a dream. Just a strange image in my head. But it wasn't. I whispered the name. Nathan. And the attic door creaked above me. All by itself. The string dropped down slowly. The air turned cold. The house was answering now. And whatever it had been hiding for all these years was awake. The attic door hung open. The ladder stretched down like it was waiting for me. I stood there for a long time, just staring. I could feel the cold air pouring down. Not like normal cold. This was sharp, like it was reaching for my skin. I didn't want to go up, but I knew I had to. The diary said I left Nathan behind. If that was true, if I really had something to do with his disappearance, I needed to see. I climbed the steps slowly. Each creak of the wood made my heart beat louder. When I reached the top, I didn't turn on a light. I didn't need to. There was already a glow in the attic. A soft blue light coming from the center of the room. It wasn't coming from a lamp. It was coming from the floor. From a shape. A small boy. Sitting cross-legged. Faded. Barely there. But real. I could see through him, like smoke trapped in a glass. He was holding something. The diary. He looked up at me. His eyes were pale, empty, but full of something I couldn't name. Not anger. Not fear. Something else. He didn't move. Just stared. I whispered, "Nathan?" His head tilted slightly, like he recognized the name. He blinked once. Then nodded. He didn't speak out loud. But somehow, I heard his voice. Inside my head. "You said you'd come back." I froze. My voice cracked. I didn't remember. I swear. He nodded again. Then pointed to the wall. I turned. Another memory flashed. Painful. Me as a child running down the attic stairs. Looking back. Calling for Nathan. Not seeing him. Crying. Yelling for help. But no one believed me. They said there was no other boy. That I was just playing pretend. I left the house with my parents soon after. But Nathan never did. And now he was still here. Still waiting. Still trapped. "I hid too well," he whispered. "And you forgot me." I dropped to my knees. I didn't know what to say. I was just a kid back then. I didn't understand. But that didn't matter now. Nathan slowly stood. His glow brighter now. stronger. He held the diary out toward me. I reached for it. As my fingers touched the cover, his voice echoed in my head again. Finish the story. Then the attic went dark. I was alone again, but the diary burned warm in my hands. And when I opened it, the last page had changed. One is trapped. One must remember. One must stay behind. The attic was dark again. Nathan was gone. No glow, no sound, no whisper. Only me and the diary in my hands. It pulsed warm like it was alive. The last page was still open. One is trapped. One must remember. One must stay behind. I read it again and again, trying to make sense of it. Did it mean, for Nathan to leave, someone else has to stay? And if so, who? I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I sat in the hallway, watching the attic door like it might open again. It didn't, but something else did. Around 4 a.m., the front door creaked open, all by itself. I rushed to it, heart racing, and saw no one. But outside, sitting on the porch, was a package. Plain brown box. No label. I brought it inside, hands shaking. Opened it slowly. Inside was a photo album. I flipped it open and froze. Every photo was of this house. Different families. Different time periods. Different kids. But in every single photo, one thing was the same. The attic, always in the background. And in one of the windows, a face. The same face. Nathan, watching, waiting, like he had been trapped in every version of this story. And suddenly I understood. This wasn't about me forgetting Nathan once. This house has done this many times. It finds someone new, someone young, traps them, then brings someone else back to remember, to feel guilty, to finish the story, to take their place. It's a cycle, a cruel one, and now the house wants it to end. I flipped to the last photo in the album. It was from earlier this week. Standing in the attic, holding the diary. Someone took this photo, but I live alone. I stared at the image for a long time, then slowly looked toward the attic again. And there it was. The string, hanging down, waiting. The string swayed gently from the attic ceiling, back and forth, like a hand was rocking it, inviting me up, or daring me. I stood at the bottom of the ladder for a long time. I kept thinking about the diary, the rule written in it. One is trapped. One must remember. One must stay behind. Nathan was still up there, I could feel it. And maybe something else was too. Something older than both of us. I grabbed the ladder and climbed again. This time, I didn't wait for 3:17 a.m. I didn't follow the diary. I just wanted to know the truth. The attic was quiet when I stepped in. Still cold. No wind. No glowing figure. Just the diary sitting open in the center of the room. I picked it up. Another page had filled itself. This time it said, "You were the one who locked the door. You closed it before he came out. You left. He didn't." My breath caught. A memory hit me hard, like a hammer to the chest. A door slamming shut. A laugh. Then silence. I was little. Too little to understand. I thought Nathan was playing a game. I thought he was still hiding. I didn't know I'd closed the attic on him. I didn't know the lock had jammed. I didn't know he couldn't get out. And I never went back to check. I left. My parents took me away. I forgot. But the house didn't. Nathan didn't. And now, after all this time, I had returned. I whispered, "What do you want me to do?" Then I saw him, Nathan, standing across the attic where the light didn't reach. He looked the same, but now more real, less ghost, more person. He didn't say anything. He just looked at me, then at the floor. at a small square hatch in the corner, a crawl space I hadn't noticed before. I opened it slowly. Inside, covers and bones. Small bones, children's bones. My stomach flipped. I fell backward, tried to breathe. Then I saw one last line in the diary, written in bold. You can set me free, but someone must stay. The attic door slammed behind me. I turned. Nathan was gone again, but I could hear something new. Footsteps coming from below. Someone or something was coming up the stairs, and I realized the house had already chosen. The attic door slammed shut behind me. I rushed to it, pulled, yanked, kicked. It wouldn't open. No light came through the cracks, only shadows, and the sound of slow, heavy footsteps coming up the stairs. Whoever wasn't rushing. They were taking their time, like they already knew how this would end. I backed away from the door. The diary was still in my hands, pages fluttering even though there was no wind. Then it stopped. One page stood still. I looked down and read the final entry. If you stay, the door opens. If you run, it closes forever. One remembers. One forgets. One becomes the house. I didn't understand what that meant, but I knew I was running out of time. The footsteps stopped, right outside the attic, and then silence. I held my breath. Then you knock. Just once. So, careful. I turned slowly and saw Nathan, standing by the crawl space again. His face was calm, not scared, not angry, just tired. He raised one arm and pointed behind me, to the mirror in the attic corner. I stepped toward it, and when I looked in, I didn't see myself. I saw him, Nathan, trapped in the mirror, mouth moving. I leaned closer. He was saying something. Take my place. Please. I looked back at him. He nodded. Tears were in his eyes now. And suddenly, I remembered everything. We were kids, best friends. We played hide and seek that day. I joked that I would lock the door for fun. And I did. But I forgot. I forgot to open it again. I forgot him. My legs gave out and I collapsed to the attic floor. I whispered, I'm sorry. I didn't know. The attic lights flickered, and the diary closed by itself. Nathan walked slowly to me. He crouched beside me and reached out his hand. You can go, he said. You remembered. Now I can forget. The attic door creaked open behind me. The light from the hallway poured in. Nathan smiled, and then faded. The attic was empty again. The mirror shattered, and the diary in my hands turned to ash. I walked down the attic stairs slowly. My legs felt weak, but my heart felt lighter. As soon as I stepped out, the door shut softly behind me. I tried to open it again, but there was nothing up there. Just dust. No diary. No voice. No Nathan. It was over, at least for now. But before I left the house for good, I looked at the hallway wall and saw something carved into the wood. Not deep, but fresh. Thank you. I moved out the next day. I didn't take much with me, just clothes, my wallet, and the last photo I had of me and Nathan as kids. I didn't even remember taking it, but there it was, tucked in my coat pocket. It felt like a goodbye. The house was quiet when I left. No whispers. No footsteps. Just empty rooms and closed doors. I told myself it was finished, that I had set him free. But 3 nights later, I woke up in my new apartment to find the diary sitting on my nightstand, burned at the edges, but whole again. I didn't touch it. I just stared. The air in the room felt wrong. So, I finally built the courage to open the cover. There was only one page, one line, written in shaky black ink. You let him go. Now who will let you out? My breath caught. I stood up and looked around the apartment. Everything was the same, but somehow it wasn't. I walked to the front door, tried the knob. It wouldn't turn. I checked the windows. Stuck. I even shouted into the hallway, banged on the walls. No one answered. That's when I noticed it. The floorboards, same as the old house. The doorknob, same color, same shape. And on the wall near the kitchen, a photo I never hung. A photo of the attic door. Waiting. I ran back to the bedroom and grabbed the diary. New words were already appearing. Like something was writing from the other side. The house doesn't move. It grows. And now it has you. I ran to the door again. Pulled it. Kicked it. Nothing. No sound from outside. No wind. No life. It was like the world beyond the door no longer existed. I ran to the window. Tried to open it. It didn't budge. The glass was wrong. Thick. Foggy. Like it wasn't glass at all anymore. I grabbed a chair, swung it hard. It bounced off with a dull thud. No crack. No noise. Just silence. That's when I saw it. In the reflection of the window. Not outside, behind me. The attic door. It was here. In this apartment. Exactly the same. Same wood. Same string. I turned around slowly. The hallway I had just walked through was different now. Longer. Darker. The walls were peeling old, like the house I thought I left. It was changing around me. Or maybe it had never changed at all. Maybe I never left the house. Maybe I only thought I did. I stepped into the hallway and looked back. My bedroom? Gone. Just another hallway. Another door. All leading deeper inside. I ran. Turned corners. Tried different doors. But every room looked the same. Same faded wallpaper. Same smell of dust and wood rot. Same cold attic string hanging in the center of the ceiling. I opened a closet, and inside was a small wooden chair. A candle on the floor. A photo of Nathan, smiling. Only now, my face was in the photo too. Next to his. I stumbled back. The diary was in my hands again. I don't know how it got there, but a new page had already been written. You passed the attic down. Now it lives through you. And soon, someone else will move in. I dropped the book. I didn't want it anymore, but it stuck to my hand like it was glued there. Part of me now. I turned another corner, looking for an exit. Any exit. And found a wall of mirrors. Each one showed me in a different room. Different times. Different versions of myself. But in every reflection, I was holding the diary. And in every reflection, I was alone. I ran. I didn't care where the halls led anymore. I just wanted them to stop. To end. To lead to something real. But they didn't. Every hallway curved back into itself. Every door opened to the same room. Same walls. Same attic string. I screamed. I begged. I cursed the house, the attic, the diary, everything. But no one came. No one heard me. Because there was no outside. Not anymore. Just this place, folding in on itself like a maze that eats memories. I tried one more thing. I took the diary and threw it into the fireplace. Lit a match. Flames swallowed the pages, curling them black. I thought it was over. I felt hope for the first time in days. But then, the fire went out. Cold. Instant. The diary sat there, untouched. Not even a mark on the cover. I picked it up, reluctantly, and the page was already turning. A message waited for me. You are not the reader anymore. You are the story now. I looked around. Everything felt heavier, slower. The walls leaned closer. The lights dimmed. And in the corner of the room, I saw someone standing. Not Nathan. But not exactly. A pale version of me. Expressionless. Staring. Holding the diary in his hands. I stepped back. He stepped forward. Perfectly mirrored. Like the house was copying me. Replacing me. like it was preparing a version that could stay. So I could leave, but only in pieces. I grabbed a mirror from the wall and smashed it. The glass shattered, my reflection gone. But the pale version of me? Still there, still staring, still waiting. And then he whispered, same voice as mine, "You can't burn what you've already become." I turned to run, again. But this time, my legs were slower, my breath harder, like the house was getting inside me, changing me. And somewhere, faint but clear, I heard the attic creak open again, calling me back. I stopped fighting, not because I gave up, but because I realized something. The house didn't want me to run. It wanted me to follow. Every hallway, every locked door, every version of me in every mirror, it was leading me to one place, back to the attic. The real one, not a copy, not a memory, but the beginning, and maybe the end. So I followed the string again. It led me to a staircase that didn't used to exist. Narrow, dusty. Each step creaked like it was warning me. At the top, the attic door stood open, just like before. But this time, I wasn't alone. Nathan was there. Not a ghost, not a shadow, but alive. His skin pale, his eyes tired. He looked at me and smiled softly. "You came back," he said. I stepped inside. The attic was different now. The walls were covered in drawings, pages from the diary. Each one a different version of this story. Different people, different endings, but the same rules. One forgets, one remembers, one stays behind. I looked at Nathan. "What is this place?" He sat on the floor and tapped the diary in front of him. "It's not a house," he said. "It's a story, and someone has to keep telling it." I shook my head. "Why me?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to, because deep down I already knew. I was the one who locked the door. I was the reason it started. The house had grown from that moment, and now it was part of me. I looked down at the diary. A new page had appeared. Only one line. "Stay or pass it on." Nathan stood and walked to the attic door. Light poured in from behind him. A real light. Sunlight. The outside world. He looked at me. "If you stay," he said, "I can finally leave." I stared at him. At the open door. At freedom. And then at the diary in my hands. It felt warm. Alive. Like it was waiting for me to make a choice. The attic was quiet. Nathan stood in the doorway, sunlight behind him. He looked free. Alive. Hopeful. I stood in the shadows, holding the diary, heart pounding in my chest. The final page stared back at me. "Stay or pass it on?" I stepped forward, looked him in the eyes. "Are you sure?" I asked. He nodded, but I could see the guilt in his face. "I don't want this to happen to anyone else," he said. "But if you leave, it will." The attic creaked. The door behind Nathan flickered, like a flame trying not to go out. I looked down at the diary again, and suddenly it wasn't blank. Words were writing themselves across the paper, fast. Too fast. If no one stays, the house chooses someone. A child. A stranger. Someone nearby. The story cannot stop. I looked back at Nathan, and I understood. This wasn't just about me anymore. If I left, the house would move on. Find someone else. Start the game all over again. Another attic. Another diary. Another trap. I sat down on the attic floor. Laid the diary in front of me. "Tell them I'm sorry," I whispered. Nathan's voice cracked. "You don't have to." "Yes, I do." The house began to hum, like it was waking up. Nathan stepped backward into the light. I smiled at him. "Finish your story, Nathan." He nodded and was gone. The attic door slammed shut. The sunlight disappeared. Silence. And I was alone. but it felt peaceful. The diary glowed faintly. The first page turned blank again, waiting for someone to read, waiting for someone to forget, waiting for someone to come home. And then I understood. I was no longer the one remembering. I was the addict now. I was the story. The end. Let me know if you want an epilogue or a new story set in the same universe. The diary has more tales to tell.